everyone. Welcome to the Psychology and Spirituality, a Bridge to a Better Life discussion. I'm your host. My name is Marcia Trajano, and with me is my co-host, Jussara Korngold. Jussara, hi. It's so good to have you here with me again. And yeah, go ahead.
Oh no. Hi, Marcia.
And we're here together to talk about this issue that we can call emptiness, we can call loneliness, we can talk even this existential void that so many of us are feeling today. But before we get started in our conversation, I wanted to just tell you, welcome you, if this, especially if this is the first time that you're watching our program. Please note the Psychology and Spirituality weekly talks are based on the works by Joanna de Angelis, and we're here to offer safe space for all of us to just ponder, to confront and compare, and even expand our own spirituality concepts from a psychological lens so that we're able to look at it with better insights, actionable tips, and perhaps even real world advice for us to feel better, to have a better life. Note that this program is sponsored by several organizations, among others. There are the TV Mansão do Caminho, the United States Spiritist Federation, the International Spiritist Council, and AMI Brazil. For all the organizing bodies, thank you. Um, Please note that if you have any comments, any questions, any thoughts, feel free to put your notes, your comments in the chat window, and we will address them perhaps at a later program, if not today. But Jusara, let's talk about emptiness. I understand that Viktor Frankl, the Austrian neurologist, he was right psychologist, philosopher, and most important, he's mostly known as a Holocaust survivor. He introduced the term existential vacuum. And this term, right, is here to describe a condition that people, who for whatever reason, they cannot find meaning in their lives. And because there's this void, this emptiness in terms of meaning, they are really prone to experience boredom, emptiness, loneliness. There's a lot of feelings or emotions that are attached to this, according to Viktor Frankl, a thought process. And he specifically says that the feelings of boredom leads to distress, right? So just that this concept to me is quite interesting because while Viktor Frankl, for example, he was talking in some of his books, he talked about the observation that many people, many of us, for instance, there comes Sundays and we don't have to go to work, you have extra time. And he noticed that they are not busy, but at the same time, they don't take this opportunity to be comfortable with themselves, to perhaps even contemplate the meaning of their lives as an opportunity to feel better, right? And Joanna de Angelis, I love it that she especially addresses this issue in my most favorite book, by the way, Existential Conflicts, where she devotes an entire chapter to it. And later on, and I always love to think about it, significance of the publication. But later on, she focused on an entire book, right, Empty Lives, on it. Why did I talk about the date? It's because it was published, Empty Lives. It was published the day that the World Health Organization declared the pandemic, right, in 2020, right, March 6th. So I thought it was very prescient of the everybody who put this together. Jusara, that it takes a while to get a book published, but I thought how important it was, that book at that moment. But anyways, this is just a side note. um, I bring this up because there's so many facets of that empty life, that a life without meaning. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, and maybe we can talk about root causes, perhaps, or some additional thought processes in this topic itself.
Oh, thank you, Marcia. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our program, our podcast, and the subject today. I think it touched us all. And first, I would like to start saying something that I mentioned a few times in our podcast. So when we talk about the growing pains, right? We look back, we look at history, and it seems that people until maybe 17th century or so, they didn't have any kind of, problems with existential void. And
Mhm.
it seems to be more specifically something that came after um, the age of enlightenment, the uh, a technical revolution, all of
Yeah,
those things, 20th century, 21st century, like we are now. And the way that we spiritists sees it is that since we are an immortal beings and we go through, this process as, of maturing, the spirit going through stages of maturity, we will be experiencing different things. So, what was suitable for me during my the age of the spirit during his infancy is no longer suitable now that I'm growing, that I'm going into an age of adolescence
yeah,
where we want to explore the world, we want to know more. And Joanna de Angelis in the book, actually, Existential Conflicts, she even mentions something about, because of all this industrial revolution,
yeah,
technological aspects, etc., we would think that we would have much more time to devote to ourselves. Now we have machines that do those things. Thank God we have washing machines, right? And all the other machines, and we have water in the house. I don't no longer need to walk. I don't know how many miles to reach for water. So uh, we have more time in our hands, and many people do not know what to do with their times. And some, because of that, they search for fulfillment in things that are very transitory and are not going to bring them any kind of self-satisfaction. So
yeah.
this is where she says here, I'm going to read: due to the pace of modern life, there are no opportunities for emotions to mature, to make the correct choices for reflection and serious consideration. Individuals are devoured by the pleasure of seizing a lot and only retaining a little. So
Mhm.
now, and the more we are exposed to things, to lifestyles, to objects, to possibilities, the more we long for those things
Yeah,
that are not going to be fulfilling necessarily, because they have an aim to please the body, the senses, and not necessarily the individual as an immortal spirit. I don't know if you would like to bring
no,
something.
no, no. Yeah, no, I'm just thinking out loud because what you're saying here, and yes, Joanna, you're spot on, right? You can link several aspects of material development of humankind, including Industrial Revolution, the Age of Enlightenment, and Viktor Frankl even connects with World War II, right? So it is like there is this world. What is this world after we lived through and this is, of course, he lived through that, and he saw the extreme cruelty and atrocities, and he would say, how can you reconcile a life that has meaning in this type of environment. And then he says, no, it's important. So he himself observes, and he excuse me, he brings a counterpoint to that. Um, what I was finding interesting, because what you're saying, with this lack of maturity, and the seeking of perhaps pleasures or something, I'm wondering, Jussara, if this is directionally, um, we in our, infancy of our spiritual growth, if pleasure and, of course, survival instincts were what pulled us into the direction that we are today, right? That was the main force driving us to be what we are today. And we're talking about feeding ourselves, taking care of our young, etc., etc., just purely instinctual type of activities that you see in your pet or animals, right, in the wild. But I'm wondering if at that point, now, as you said, we come to our your spiritual youth, right, our adolescent stage, metaphorically speaking, and we need to explore. But then we kind of, I don't know if it makes sense to you, but does it make sense for us as we go through this, and like what is driving us to explore, and we end up exploring not from within, which is the paradox, right? Not from within, not from finding the divine spark that is inside all of us, this God within, the self, right, with the uppercase S, instead of, I don't know, I need to explore, but I don't know where. So I'm going to explore with things that are, again, very sensorial in nature, be it parties and I don't know, uh, uh, even falling for addictive behaviors. And by addictive, I can say drugs, alcohol, etc., or addictive behavior, right? Workaholism or the shopaholic in all of us, all of those addictive behaviors, because we don't find that. The senses no longer fulfill us, but we haven't found in us the appeal or the mechanism to look at ourselves. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's if we had the answers for all of that, imagine those are the answers that we are all looking for.
Mhm.
Some of us are not even aware that we are going through this existential void, and
Yeah.
we try to say, oh, it's because the things that are happening in the world, or it's my work. We try to find excuses to look for the reasons why we are feeling this way on the outside and not on the inner, in our inner self, like you said. So
Mhm.
it is easier for us just to, as always we have been doing, blame
Yeah.
everything that is not okay with us on others. So, I mean, I just will say, it's the world, it's my family, it's my job, it's, now it's crazy hot here in New York City. It's because it is cold, or, we are always blaming circumstances, people, situations, but not ourselves. And here it's not a matter of just blaming, because we are not going again to think about bringing the whip in our hands and start whipping ourselves. This is not about it. This is about the blaming here. What I'm trying to say is actually, to become aware, to start thinking, and really go into a quest,
Yeah.
getting to know yourself. Just
I
this week,
love it. Yeah.
it came to my attention again, the that book that we have about a knight in a rusty armor, right? I mean, he has to go into a quest to
Uh-huh.
find, or let's say to maybe to the way the story goes, it's almost like, to revive who he was more in a time of innocence,
Yeah.
uh, where we let the world, the circumstances, the everything that is happening to, you know to put us in this armor that little by little is going to be rusted in a way that we cannot remove it anymore. So this is now, us, like you were saying before, trying to go into this quest of getting to know ourselves better. And this is not being afraid of um, understand that we are all going to go through that. This is where, it is we are in the between, where
Yeah.
I don't like, dolls or little games or cars or dinosaurs anymore. I want to become more of an adult, but I'm still not there. So as I still long for what was the object of my attention, and I still do not have one that I can say is genuinely mine,
Yeah.
I will be in the situation. And I think in this transition, we look for things, because then you will say, well, every time I was sad, let's say, or go through any kind of struggle, my parents would buy me a toy or something like that. Okay. Or I would
Yeah.
lollipop or something, like some
Yeah.
kind of compensation. Now we go for compensations, and
Yeah.
compensations in this that will momentarily bring us a sense of happiness and being connected to the world may be what you were saying before, very bad choices like excess of alcohol, drug addiction,
Or
and
whatever, right? Whatever is your drug of the day, the drug du jour, if you will.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Can I say something? And just had it. It's a little off topic, but it's I think it triggered my thoughts here. Um, Not so long ago, I just went to a lecture, and in the lecture, which has nothing to do with anything we're talking about, it was a about human resources and professional growth, etc. And somebody brought up the idea of why, and this is really gender based more than anything else, why do so many women suffer from the so-called imposter syndrome, right? I'm here. I got the job. I have all of this, but I don't feel that I should be here, so I'm going to fake it until I make it. And this very high level Harvard professor and writer of many, many books, he says that it's exactly what you meant. It's that moment that we are in between. We are not there yet. We are no longer what we were. We're not there yet. And this person mentioned that it was so important for us to give us grace, to understand that those in between moments are important because they are again directionally right. You are becoming what you're not there yet, but you need to start to exercise a little bit like a little lion cub exercise fighting with the other cub, right? Until it can be ready to be in the wild by themselves. The other
Sorry.
point, yeah, go ahead.
I just even think this again came into my mind, and this is again something that I say over and over and over again. And if you heard that
Yeah,
already, you're going to hear many more times. It's
uh,
the experience of the glass uh,
yes, yes.
half empty or half full, right?
Hmm.
So, in this transition, like we were saying, where I still do not feel like we were saying before, I just passed from the young age, the infancy stage, to more mature teenager years, but I'm still not in there, and no longer I do belong there. But we always forget that I'm just going through this in between phase
Yeah.
to reach something else because I went through the other phase. So
Yes.
this is a positive aspect of looking back.
Yeah.
Of course, with that comes everything that I learned. Children cannot do that. Women cannot do that. And you get my picture, right?
Yes, those
We we
cultural elements, right?
we
Yeah.
come with all these restraints,
Yeah.
right? All these ideas that this is not appropriate for a child, or you are incapable of understanding this or this or that. And now I say, well, it seems that I transition. I go through a different phase of in my life, but of course, every different phase, every different stage that we go through, it's a time of learning,
Yes.
and we are going to build on top of what we have acquired already. So do not
Yeah.
look back. Do not let oh, because I was a child, I'm always going to be a child or have present child's behavior. No, that child taught me to do this and that. I learned during this period, this and that, and now I'm going to expand, and so look for our potential. Sorry.
Yeah. No, love it. Love it. Now I wanted to pivot to another
Mhm.
sideway comment, and I hope you forgive me, Jusara. But do you, I know, I'm sure you have heard the phrase, the brain abhors a vacuum, right? And it just means that our mind, the human mind, tends to seek stimulation, inputs. It basically does not like to stay in this idle or inactive space for long. And it also means that, or implies that, we do, this is a natural tendency, right? We do have this tendency to always seek out more information. We're seeking out experience. That's the teenage in us that you referred to. And that we are constantly processing, absorbing information in order to fill the gaps in our knowledge. So, what am I talking here? I'm talking about the fact that, like you mentioned, Jussara, that more than ever, and Joanna de Angelis speaks to that in both Existential Conflicts and Empty Lives books, right? She talks about the tremendous improvements in technology, freeing our time from menial type of labor at home or at work, etc. But instead of us being very good about preserving our time, we fill with something else. It's a this potentially natural tendency to just let me fill. If I have an extra, let's say, hour, it's going to be filled, and that hour may be filled in front of the TV, in front of binging some streamed series, or it can be watching, I don't know, TikTok or Facebook, Instagram, whatever is the new social media channel of the day, with inputs that are just quick snaps but can absorb you for actually more than an hour. So the question here that I'd like to bring to you, perhaps, Drew, is that this is almost a paradox, right? We are saying that on one hand, we don't have enough time, right? We're so busy, we don't have time, and we absolutely prefer to be busy. But then there's this paradox that, what is how can we do this? How can we um, address the invitation to slow down, the invitation to have that, it's the little story, right? The knight in rusty armor that you referred to be that knight that actually understands that the armor is rusty and it needs to right, to go in and keep looking, keep going inside to find ourselves. And I just wanted to perhaps have your thoughts on that paradox. Are we busy or are we not busy? Is this a natural tendency to stay busy, or is it a natural tendency to slow down? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, using the image of and the story of the knight in the rusty armor, one thing that we have to see, and unfortunately, this is what the majority of us do,
Mm-hmm.
is that he had to be in a very dire straight situation to start doing something. So
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't remove any parts anymore of the armor. So he couldn't feed, he couldn't be fed, he couldn't drink. And he started losing his family because he was becoming each time more oblivious to any kind of emotional connection. So it was a matter of survival. And unfortunately, up to this point, um, we are letting, let's say, life dictates a little bit what is going to be happening to us.
Yeah.
Instead of taking control, because we can take control, and this is what Joanna de Angelis says, um, the when we are facing this existential void or vacuum, we have to take possession of
Mm-hmm.
our uh, capabilities, bring back sentiments of love and all it go in pursuit of prayer, meditation, solidarity, fraternal affection, all of those things that are going to fulfill us emotionally speaking, spiritually speaking, which is what now the lack of is like, this is the oil
Yeah.
is going
Uh-huh.
to, to be able to remove the rust that exists in us in terms of this lack of important emotions. And I mean, when we were talking about when are we busy enough or not doing anything, I myself, I saw myself so much in that,
Yeah.
because I have to tell you, um, there are times that my brain is just exhausted.
Yeah.
And the more I may want to do something productive, I work with my brain all the time, in the works that the spiritism and translations and this and that. It's always the head, the brain, always like that. And so it comes a point in the day that my brain is exhausted. It's not like, oh no, just sit and then read a book. Okay, I can read a book because I can read, but my brain
Yeah.
is
It's not absorbing. Yeah.
cannot
Yeah.
absorb anymore. So I go binge watch something, because it's like, it's removing, it's releasing all the extra charge. uh,
Yeah.
or I can do something else. I can go for a walk. I can do something else. But I mean, so I think that at this point, especially where we are, is not that we are saying here we are not entitled to 2 times of leisure, um, but we have to look for good choices,
Yeah.
right? And not just give ourselves to the whole time to things that are unimportant. And I was thinking, some of you may say, oh, Jussara, at the beginning of the podcast, that's something that, we have too much time on our hands. Not me, right? Now, let's explain that.
Uh-huh.
um, we may be, doing a lot, working a lot, but what is behind that?
Yeah.
Are you doing that, exerting yourself because of spiritual growth? Or because this is what the world expects from you? or because this is what is going to make you feel powerful or increase your wealth, or
Mm,
how many of us choose wrong professions, not really in accordance to our inclination, that just because it's going to pay more and then I
mm,
can buy more, I can have more, and everything always just circling around material things. And again, we are not saying that this is wrong. This is what we understand. We have a material life. We have to take care of ourselves, and we are entitled, I don't know, to even some extravagances, but we are not just that. And this is why she says, be happy that you finally have I mean, Joanna de Angelis doesn't say that, right? I mean, in her words, be happy that now you have a washing machine, right? A dishwasher, you have a vacuum, right? That is not the
yeah.
extension vacuum. You have vacuum, you have all those things, you have an elevator that you don't have. Like myself, I live in the 35th floor. I don't have to go up and down 35 floors every day. So yeah, thank God we have all that. We have the ACs, the air conditioner, that all of this. But uh, again, using our intelligence, using wealth to provide all these things that will promote well-being to human beings is very good, is very important. But it, but at the same time, because we are growing, and because there will be this longing of our soul of
Mm,
understanding more. When we were a child, we couldn't understand many aspects of life, but when we start growing old, we want to understand more, more, deep things. We want to know better about relationships, right? We wanted to know better about our influence in the world. We wanted to understand why we are here, and if we keep on suffocating,
yeah. Yeah.
getting into this path of knowledge, of understanding of ourselves, this is when, unfortunately, the more we try to think about it, or do something in the opposite direction, the less
Mm,
we will come with the results that will really allow us to feel fulfilled.
yeah. And it's going back to Viktor Frankl, right? His research, through, of course, initial observations during the concentration camp during the World War II, he saw those individuals that had a meaning in their strong meaning in their lives survived, right? Whereas the others that were surviving just from an instinctive basis of survival, they couldn't survive the horrors of those treatment at the time. So he links exactly that emptiness in this case and meaning leading to all sorts of distress and really a lot of pain, right? A lot of pain. One of the things that I think, Jussara, is that there is a movement, right? Mindful meditation, or being mindful, being fully present without judgment in everything we do, which is one way to perhaps to slow down. And what I mean by that is, in this society, we talked, right? We've referenced 2 or 3 times already that we are post industrial revolution, and we are capitalist society. We are a society that you must produce to be able to even stay afloat and not lose everything. You have to have a job, you have to produce. And because of that, it has conditioned our identification of who we are, not by who are you, but by what do you do, right? And we end up really thinking of the meaning of our lives as the meaning behind the activities of our lives. What do you do? And those activities eventually they become very ephemeral, they become very hollow. They will be that rusty armor, right? They just, it's not what we need to live. So I think it's quite interesting if we start to think of that. What do we need to do to start to change the paradigm of identify ourselves as what I do, but what I am. And by what I am, it goes right back to what you said right at the beginning, Jussara, that spiritual growth. This is who you are, the immortal soul that you are, the spirits that is evolving, that is growing. This is who you are. And the sum of experiences should lead to that continuous growth. I don't know if I went too stray on this comment.
That's fine. I think, of course, many of the things that we express here are our uh, point of view. Uh, we are always bringing, also the knowledge that we have from the works of the Joanna de Angelis and
Hmm.
the psychology that we are mentioning, psychiatrists, psychologists, is in
Hmm.
the field where we are presenting our podcast. But you see, I think that sometimes, uh, there is a great risk
Yeah.
when we label ourselves by what the world values. Um, eh, and of course, at this point, the world values much more people that uh, works in the field of what they feel is important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and just
True.
and just came to mind again that beautiful example of the life of Mother Teresa, where she had an appointment with an interview that a man was going to come and interview her, and
Uh-huh.
he came and he was in the middle of the interview, and she said, "I'm sorry, I have to leave. I'm going to tell you this very quickly because I think many of you may know about the story already." And
Hmm.
he feels really bad because he says, it took a while for me to be able to have this appointment with her. And how come we just started and she just says, "I'm sorry, I have to leave," and just left. And,
Hmm.
but after, his heart pride, he said, "You know what? I'm going to follow her because maybe," he was thinking, "I want to know what is more important than me." Right, so he follows her and he goes through the the streets of Calcutta, and goes here and there and here and there, and she finally gets to a place where there is a pile of garbage, and she goes into the garbage and she finds a man that is about to die, and she's able to, to hold this man while he breathes his last breath on earth. And according to the journalist, he says that was the most horrific vision I had, in terms, everything was such a misery, right? There was all around the man in the state of deterioration, she jumping into that pile of garbage, and she comes back peaceful, and he says to her, "I wouldn't do that, uh, not even for $1 million." And she said, "Neither would I just did that because of love." So this is what I'm saying in terms the values, right? How
Yes.
many of us truly understands a Mother Teresa or a Mother Teresa like figure?
Mhm.
someone that dedicates to the well-being of others, that commit to do good works when they have fortunes and this or that, or maybe when they have nothing, like what's her case.
Mhm.
So now if I let myself be defined by, or label myself, I have a value because I hold this degree or certificate or this position or not, we are in big trouble because, like Joanna de Angelis says in Empty Life, she says that a life without a well delineated meaning,
Uh-huh.
one that stimulates you energetic, makes you become in a state of vegetation,
Yes.
because you may think that you are doing so much, this and that, but actually you are not doing what is essential for your survive. It's like, if we talk about food, perhaps we are going to understand better, right?
Uh,
Eat piles and piles of junk food, but junk food is junk food. It's not going to nourish my
yes.
body.
Yeah.
So I may be even fat, absolutely not starving,
Mhm.
well fed, but not well nourished.
That's a good metaphor. Yeah.
And this is the meaning. This is what we are trying to say here. When we do not nourish our souls, we will feel this essential void. We will feel that there is something missing. Then we go to the refrigerator again and try to eat something else. And the mindfulness, as an example, I once had a great opportunity of watching a talk by Thich Nhat Hanh
Yeah.
about mindfulness, where
Mhm.
he says many times, because even when we eat, we are not paying attention to what we're doing. So your brain is not connected with what you're doing, and there will be this emptiness. And then all of a sudden you're hungry and getting sick. How come? I just ate 1 hour ago. Did you? Because your mind was not in it. You were not following with your mind and everything. And just to finish, I I recently had the opportunity to go to Auschwitz,
Mhm.
at Auschwitz, and having read the book by Viktor Frankl, and seeing everything that I saw there, it's absolutely extraordinary what he did, and how he still found strength not only to help those, to become a source of inspiration to all of those, but to survive himself, and then doing something about it. Uh, because there we were before, a lack of faith in everything, lack of faith in oneself, in God, in our culture, in everything. And being day after day reduced to a number, you even lost your name, which is sacred to each and every one. So you're no longer a person, you're a thing. And as the this how do I say, despicable
Yeah.
thing. That's
Yeah.
where they, and I mean, how can you maintain the sense of belonging, the sense of being a child of God, and,
Mhm.
and having this source of, or this power to go on? And this is when he comes with, man's searching for
For
meaning.
meaning.
and,
Yes.
and again, are you truly putting your values, or were you really spiritual, religious, and believing in life before? Because if you were, no matter what, no matter how hard the storm is, you are going to face it, and you are going to go out of it victoriously at the end. So this is, I think, what I
No,
would.
this is beautiful, and I appreciate you sharing your experience at Auschwitz, right? It's not for everyone, by the way, but at the same time, everyone should have that opportunity to do this, to go through that. And of course, understanding lives such as Viktor Frankl, that it should be an inspiration to us, or the life of Mother Teresa, or many others that, like those two, have devoted their lives to something, but they also found meaning on a day-to-day basis. I just want to say that for us to conclude our discussion today, it's important that we really are courageous to not only understand that we are all um, owners of many dormant potentialities, right? And when we say dormant, it's because like the discussion of the imposter syndrome, right? We're not there yet, but it's ours, it's within, and that we should be able to be courageous enough to look for that internal God, or internal God with a small g. And that's what makes us a person. That is what makes us that individual, that child of light, as you said, Jussara. So let's see what we need to do, because if the process is not automatic yet, right, that the driving force is not there yet because we are in transition. Let's look for what we need to do to make it easy, make it attainable. And mindful meditation is one of them. But just out already, you mentioned prayer, moments of reflection. Oh, stop to have a cup of coffee or go for a walk. Anything without our mind just being completely burdened by things to do, worries to have, anxieties, fears, etc., etc., because that's, I'm afraid, not a very well lived life. Jusara, any final words before we say goodbye?
No, just for us, let's just keep going, right? We have
Yeah,
to go,
yeah,
and we are receiving very good directives from Joanna de Angelis and others. So we are very grateful to all this, and to Divaldo Franco for being the vessel to bring this all to us as well.
absolutely. With that, I'd just say see you next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye.